for being put in this position. And that's why the defense called her, because they know she said this at one time. Now, yeah.
Apparently, Rafael Devers got traded to the Giants. Celsius. Breaking news. No. It's serious. Check your phones, everyone.
Game today, and they
said, all right.
Hey, let's get this guy out of town. Me, I'm like,
I don't like to win around here. Just for all the fathers.
just all the fun.
Oh my God.
No one believes us. I know.
It's not April Fool's.
Oh, this is
Wait, what? Yeah.
crazy. Oh my God.
I mean, everyone in Boston was probably just as shocked as we were in that TikTok. But happy Father's Day. I hope that didn't ruin Father's Day.
Too many Father's Days.
Too much. But hey, guys, I'm Annabelle Hasselbeck here with Kasey Hudson. This is Respect Your Game. And we're basically covering everything today because we can. It's a very exciting time in sports. We got the NBA Finals, Stanley Cup Finals, Caitlin Clark's return to the WNBA on the court, and much more. But it was not a quiet weekend like we saw in that TikTok in Boston with another superstar from Boston being traded away. Rafael Devers is heading to the Giants. So, Kasey, where were you when you heard this news?
Oh my gosh, we were actually in downtown Boston. So like fans are just now leaving the game in the afternoon because my best friend came to visit me in town, as I was just telling you about. So we were bopping around all the places to just embrace what is Boston, the sports lifestyle. So we're seeing all the Fenway fans, we're seeing all the Red Sox fans, we're talking to everybody at different kinds of like restaurants and stuff. And I saw our group chat go off and I was like, this is funny. And then I kind of just like put my phone back down and like moved on. And then my phone keeps buzzing. So my best friend's like asking me like, what's going on? And I was like, I think there's no way it can be real. And then funny enough, when I went on Twitter, the first tweet that I see is John Papelbon being like, he's not getting traded, calm down or something like that. And then he legit had to go back and be like, lose it because this is really happening. So I'm in public while this is going on and trying to figure out how to translate what's happening to my best friend while watching everybody else try to figure out, right. Is this real? Is this not real? We just left the game watching him play. There's no way this is real. So yeah, I was very much what felt like in the tornado of the news.
Yeah, that's kind of the funny part and probably the hardest part about being around someone when news like this breaks. I was on a walk with my mom and this happened. I just started screaming, what? No, what? No. Right. She's like, what happened? You know, like it could be anything. Right?
It can. And usually your mind goes to like the word, like very
terrible,
bad, scary
circumstances,
things.
Right? Like, and so I think that's, you know, kind of the funny part, but I love knowing like, where were you when this happened?
Yes.
But what was just your initial takeaway and reaction from this trade?
Honestly, AB, I think I'm still processing it. Like even getting up this morning and knowing like what we had to do for our jobs today, I'm still sitting here thinking to myself, there's no way this is what we're actually talking about on a realistic level. So I think I'm still just processing the shock of it. I know that a lot of fans are still like they're going through, what do they call it?
Like those dads.
The things of grief, you know, acceptance, anger, this, that, because you're just seeing all sorts of tweets.
I mean, they said it's not April Fool's Day.
That was the only not the only reason. That gave me the biggest laugh though. Like that TikTok when the dads are like, it's not April Fool's. Like really just be like, they were not accepting what she was saying. And then even when she showed him the phone, he was like, no way.
No way.
Yeah, so I think I'm still in shock and just trying to figure out how did we get here, you know? Like there's some obvious signage to it, you know, conversations that started in training camp, conversations and comfortability about, you know, roles, knowing your role, knowing your leadership, knowing what you mean to a team, but when you need a pivot, you know, on certain things. So again, just like a loop of things to process.
It's pretty wild. And I think the timing of it is so interesting and just
insane.
Odd. But I think the thing that has been so crazy for me to just learn, even this morning has it all unfolded, is like you said, how some of these trade, you know, phrases were being brought up in spring training.
Yes.
Right. So this was something that has clearly been ongoing. And it's funny, like we just don't know what's going on behind closed doors. You never really know the situation. But I'm sure we're going to hear a lot more as it unfolds and gets to it. But I think for me, I saw a name throughout this whole trade process that was a huge bright spot for me, James Tibbs. Ooh. And he is a Florida State alum who was drafted by the Giants. And I got to interview him. him for Sports Spectrum last summer. And so here they're talking about, we got these prospects that maybe not a lot of people know about. I'm like, I know James Tibbs. Let's go. So James Tibbs, we're excited to have you with the Boston system. But we've got a lot of other sports to get to.
Wait, before we jump to that though, is there another bright spot you can give us about the interview? Like, was there something that jumped out to you that you enjoyed?
I think most importantly, like, I was so impressed by his character and his leadership. And he had really what drawn me to the interview was that I saw how he handled losing in the World Series. Ooh. And he's the leader of this team, and he gets up in the post-game press conference, and the first thing he's like, everyone likes to praise the Lord in the good times, but I'm going to praise the Lord in this really hard time. And so I saw how he handled tough adversity and probably having his dream crushed, not being able to win in that World Series. So I was super impressed by that. And so, the Red Sox are getting not only a great baseball player, but a great human as well.
Somebody with high character standards. Yes. We love high character people.
Yes. So there's a little light bulb that we have.
While we still process the shock, let's continue to manage the fact that we are shocked.
I think this will be an ongoing investigation throughout the whole.
Yeah, this is going to be the weirdest week because on top of him getting traded to the Giants, the team was boarding the plane to start their West Coast tour yesterday. That's all Travis and I talked about in Boston Center, the chat on Friday. So now 1 week later, it's going to be the most awkward situation to say the least.
We need a full E60 on this later. But let's get to some basketball because there is a big game tonight, Game 5 of the NBA Finals. And here was a really funny quote from the Pacers head coach, Rick Carlisle. He said, well, tough losses are a part of a playoff series. It's just if this was easy, they would be pulling people off the street to play in the NBA Finals. And I thought, you know what? That's hilarious because, I think a lot of people are like, oh, this and that. It's they just pick anybody to play. But this is the NBA Finals. It doesn't get more intense and more rigorous than this. But I thought that was funny because you don't usually hear a head coach saying something like that.
You could tell that he's just at that point of the season where he's tired of answering certain kinds of questions. He's not hitting the panic button, but he's got to do his job and talk to the media. And so it's just that kind of almost felt like not a reach, but just one of those let's go into the basket and grab that one phrase that makes sense here. If anybody could do it, everybody would be doing it kind of thing. But come on, we're not hitting panic. This has been an exciting series for a number of reasons, but I know we say it a lot in hockey, but I'm sure basketball says it too. The regular season and the postseason are two entirely different beast characters. What you see in the regular season, you typically can't really speak to in the postseason just because of the level of differences and underdog teams or underdog moments that find their stride. So it's not an easy feat. Unfortunately, a tough loss, probably even tougher because I would say 80 to 90% of that game felt like Pacers' game to win, and then all it takes is a couple of minutes for it to be handed over, and that's exactly what happened.
Right, and SGA coming in clutch. So here's SGA after the game and after his great performance.
Tim McMahon, ESPN, it seemed like every touch was tough for you for the first 3.5 quarters. You get to 5 minutes, 4 minutes, 3 minutes, you guys are trailing, seasons on the line. What opened up? What allowed you to finish the way that you did?
I just tried to be aggressive. Like you said, I knew what it would have looked like if we lost tonight, and I didn't want to go out not swinging. I didn't want to go out not doing everything I could do in my power and my control to try to win the game. The guys deserve that much from me. The coaching staff deserve that much from me. And I just tried to be aggressive, but also just let the game come to me, not try to force anything too crazy. And I guess it paid off.
It definitely did pay off because he finished with 35 points and 15 of those coming in the last 4 minutes of the game. And I loved his line, I didn't want to go out not swinging, I'm like, that's what this is. And that's what championship level players do is they need to rise to the occasion and they need to realize, this is it. If we don't win this game, our odds are very low.
It's funny, we talked about high character just moments ago, but how do you not root for SGA? It's just to be as skilled as he is, to know the number of moments that have heavily relied and weighed on his shoulders, the humility that he has, the accountability that he has, the immediate all right, we got to shift gears here and focus on trying to do this. Of course, that's what you want in your best leaders, and that's why he's a leader on that team, but he's not even going off to the fact that they pulled it off. He's still just so calm. We didn't want to go out like that, so we dialed it up. We figured it out. And to think about how and when they figured it out, you've said it. I mean, 4 minutes left in the fourth quarter is when he really started to pick up a lot of those points, but it was really like the shift came at like 2:09 in the fourth quarter. Like 2 minutes felt like forever in this game. And it's just so cool to see like how this team can keep pushing back and like going punch for punch just to make sure that like they continue to reach to the end of it. So the tie-breaking game is always the most intense. And I wonder how it's going to go down between these two teams.
Yeah, and that's why it's been so fun is when you have teams that are able to have those comebacks and
Yeah.
that, you can never count anything out. That's a thing. But another guy who really has the team on his shoulders is Tyrese Halliburton. So here's what he had to say after the loss in Game 4.
Yeah, we got to do a better job. I got to do a better job of keeping pace in the game. I thought I did a much better job of that last game, especially down the stretch, keeping pace, getting rebounds, and really pushing. I think we got to do a better job of when we do get stops, getting out and running. A lot of times in that fourth, we were fouling too much, taking the ball out, having to, kind of run something versus, just random basketball. So I got to do a better job there. Watch film, see where I can get better. But yeah, that's on me. I gotta get us playing faster down the stretch, and I'll be better Game 5.
Well, I definitely believe him that it'll be better in Game 5, and they're going to push the tempo and push the pace because that's what's been serving them well. That's what they've been doing well, especially in transition. And there's a lot of young legs on the court on both sides of the team and both sides in this game. So I'm excited to see that for the Pacers. I think, you have to go back to your roots. Okay, where do we gain momentum? Not even just like where do we need to change, but like where can our team get fired up and gain energy and really become more of ourselves in that sense?
Yeah, and it's funny too because everybody can go back and see it. There's a clip of you and I being like, Halliburton is such a turning point for this team, and he can be the key guy to help with the response. And then they have this like massive game to tie up the series, or to take the series lead. And we know that he has the capability of doing it. We've seen him do it once before. So it was just some uncharacteristic things. He mentioned pace, but also you're looking at a team that kind of always had this big push in the fourth quarters, and then they let off the gas in this game in the fourth quarter. They had mistakes, a lot of uncharacteristic things. So that's why I think it's going to just continue to go victory for victory until like this one's screaming Game 7, and a lot of people had it going just to Game 5. So, and it's not just on him, but again, a great leader. Like you got other guys, Benedict. I love saying his whole first name, his government first name, because how many Benedicts do you meet? But dear old Benedict, you were raving about him last week about just how clutch he was, and like this other guy in the mix and adding depth to the bench. Clearly, I had to hang out with Ante last week here at Nesson a lot. But the funny part about it is like Mathurin had a number of opportunities for free throws and just could not land it. So there was just like these like moments, these like really small significant moments that they just were unable to convert for their own, and I think that they could change it very easily. Definitely. Well, not very easily. I don't want coach coming for me.
Not easily, right? He's gonna put Kasey on the court. Oh, Kasey, you think you can walk right into the NBA Finals?
I'm 5 foot. Anybody can mark me.
That's good. Hey, you never know. Sneaky, you can get around.
That's true.
People.
Maybe I'm quicker.
A little point guard action. Yeah, I believe you. Well, let's just get into Game 5 because this whole series has just been very back and forth with SGA and Halliburton. But I think for me, if I'm looking at this game, I'm going to take the Pacers in the long run. I'm going to take them in Game 6 and in Game 7.
This.
But I think the momentum coming off this last game with OKC and Alex Caruso stepping up, he's been a big part of their 2 wins, the only 2 wins that they've had in this finals so far. So I'm going to go with OKC for this game. Who are you taking?
Yeah, I'm struggling with this one because it's just been so back and forth. It's funny how much NBA and NHL are just kind of mirroring one another at the moment. But I feel like we've constantly seen the Pacers be able to respond. And this is also why I'm like, well, this has got to be, I mean, now we know that we have to push for 7, but I feel like that response in order to put OKC on edge and see what they present to the table coming after that, I'm going to go with the Pacers.
All right.
I mean, they did a lot of really good things. They had one of their like largest leads in the third quarter. And if Halliburton's like, I need to dial it up and control the pace, well, pace has been, no pun intended, been one of their key identity factors as to how they've outcompeted against their opponent through majority of the season and the postseason. I gotta go with the Pacers.
Well, it's good.
I don't like going opposite.
But here's the thing: I said Pacers long run, so like I'm kind of.
You're still kind of there.
I'm
okay.
kind of in both. I kind of cheated, really, is what I did there. Well, it's gonna be a lot of late nights because not only do we have that game tonight, but we have another big finals going on in the NHL. The Panthers are up 3-2 in this series with the Oilers after winning Game 5 on the road last Saturday, and now they have the chance to win their second straight Stanley Cup on home ice. I mean, does it get any better than that? I feel like it's just like gift.
Yeah.
To be on home ice.
A whole gift.
Getting to tell. Yes, exactly. And similar to kind of what we're seeing in the NBA Finals, the team that wins Game 5 closes out the series in Game 6 73% of the time. So it's kind of like, all right, you never want to bet on percentages because Halliburton is a thing, right? But here in the NHL, those percentages look very similar. But Kasey, just looking at how the series has been so far, what's in the water in Florida right now?
Oh my gosh. I want to say Wayne Gretzky's in the water. Bought a rental property down there, started a development camp down there. He's summering
around.
Yeah, like the minute that Gretz was like, look, summer's life, I'm going to do all things in Florida. It's just like something was injected into our veins as well as the water. But yeah, it's insane. It's a beautiful thing, obviously, because of growth of game and the fact that like guys don't have to jump away to boarding schools anymore in order to like show their passion for hockey and see if they even have a future. It's starting to build out enough down there to where they can have a life, dream of something realistic. It's tangible. But it's been wild. It's been what you expect. These two teams going toe to toe, and I'll say this: the Oilers have obviously been giving their fans a lot of breathing exercises because it's just so unpredictable. Panthers clearly looking like the strongest team. Oilers finding a way to just continue to stay at it, but after the loss the other day, it's just like the Panthers officially look like that juggernaut that cannot be knocked off. And then you add home ice advantage to it, the statistics behind it. But last year, Panthers went up 3-0 in the series and then dropped 3 games. So the Oilers know how to kind of push some of these buttons to keep this interesting. It's just nerve-wracking. And now the Panthers have something different in Brad Marchand, somebody who is impossible to keep out of the mix, and he's going to be a big factor in whether or not they close this out tomorrow.
Definitely. He's having an incredible showing. I mean, just making headlines everywhere for Marchand. But I do want to ask you about the Oilers and their goalie situation because they're starting Pickard for Game 6. And this is something that, people have been discussing. Maybe it's going to happen. We've seen a little bit about it. But what are your thoughts just on this move?
I can understand why they did this. Right now, they're obviously in a position where they would have to win or it's a wrap for them. And there's a lot of mirroring and replications to how they were able to pull off and get past the LA Kings team that appeared to have their number. So when they first put Pickard in, they were able to pull off a win, which we didn't see that the other night. But Pickard still allowed 4 goals. After that, he was able to be a little bit more stout and shut down. So, maybe there's something behind being consistent with Pickard and giving him an opportunity to lessen what gets past him. It's unfortunate what's going on defensively in front of him, but realistically, I could see, they found success in the first series of the playoffs, and it was giving consistency behind Pickard because at this point, they've seen enough of Stuart Skinner. The goals are going to get past either one of these guys. So, I think it's the fresh look. I think it's the capability of, what they trusted Pickard with and how he pulled through for them beforehand and just getting less goals in his presence, and they saw that he was able to become more efficient is where I'm going with that in the first series.
Yeah, I think what's interesting too is that Knobloch spoke on this decision and he spent a ton of time. Seriously, if I had a stopwatch and I timed it, he spent a lot of time just talking about the trust that has been built over time. Not just in this series, but even from last year with the teammates, with the coaches, and just how that has really helped them make this decision. And I think there's a huge difference of making a goalie change if it's out of fear, frustration, rather than confidence and trust. And also when the team is backed behind you, and it really
100%.
really sounds like this locker room is backed behind him, and so that I think that gives me confidence for them, and they know that hey, this isn't just a decision. This is a well thought out. We feel really good about this, and I think when you're in the Stanley Cup Finals, you want to feel good about a huge decision like that you're making.
100%. Well, it's so funny that you mentioned that because literally one of my takes over the weekend was the fact that I feel like there's a little bit more of mental calmness for the Oilers when Pickard's in goal. And it's not to attack Skinner. It's not to go against anything that's been discussed around him. It's just the fact that that's what we've seen. We've just seen a little bit more in front of Calvin Pickard. And look, if you're worried about one less thing on the ice, then you can focus on the other task at hand, which is them getting on the board and going toe-to-toe with a team that's just so strong. So, yes, I think it comes down to trust. I think it comes down to the fact that for some reason, they just have this a little bit more breathing room when Pickard's in net. And that's what they have to go with right now because it could be a wrap tomorrow.
Right. I want to get your perspective more on the emotional side of this for Boston sports fans more so. We just saw the whole thing with Devers go down, okay? But we had heartbreak earlier this year with Marchand leaving, right?
Yep.
So how should Boston sports fans handle and feel about the legacy, but also just Marchand in the league?
Oh my gosh. If I had to like say how fans should feel, it should be one of those like, he's a product of us. You know what I mean? He's a product of Boston. So there's still so much pride to be had there, but almost equivalent to the Devers situation, you're seeing a lot of fans that are even more I feel like the heartbreaking emotions have entered back into the scenario, considering what he's doing with the Panthers and that leadership. We have leadership questions. We have a number of questions going on with the Bruins, and I feel like a number of fans feel like it would be solvable if Marchand was still in a Bruins jersey.
Too bad.
It's too many ifs. You know what I mean? What ifs? But yeah, I think that what you can be proud of is the fact that like he's a product of Boston. He might be Canadian. He might be wearing a Panthers sweater right now, but like everything that supported who Brad Marchand is, all of his unique assets, a guy who played bigger than himself and somebody who just has so much personality and is just tremendous at hockey. The numbers tell you it. Everything else tells you it as well. I'd say he's a product of Boston. You don't have to be born here to be a product, but I say that's something hopeful.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I think when I think of it, I'm like, we had it so good. An emphasis on the had, right? It's like, oh, well, at least we knew we were right. Like, at least we knew we had a good thing going for us. But
exactly,
I did want to ask you that because I think it's important. It just fits the overall conversation and what we're really dealing with in Boston right now.
Yes, 100%. It's a lot of change, and we know that change can bring on a wave of emotions.
Yes.
And so all I know is that as soon as the Devers news hit, it was back to NHL trade deadline in March, and I was just seeing like two really frustrated fan bases all over again. But another positive is the fact that so many people are ready to go to war to make sure that Brad Marchand is the Conn Smythe winner at the end of this whole situation and series, because he is so well earned. Sam Bennett making a case for himself too, but I don't think many Bostonians are going to support that. And I would go to bat and say that it needs to be Marchand as well.
Definitely. Well, big game 6 tomorrow night. 2 back-to-back finals nights to look forward to. And when we come back, we'll recap Caitlin Clark's return to the court. If you didn't already see it, you should have, because it was incredible. It was amazing. So we'll get you caught up on all things in the W. So stay tuned for some more hoops when we come back. Well, I don't think anyone could have predicted a better welcome back to the court than the performance that we saw from Caitlin Clark on Saturday. The Indiana Fever beat the defending champs New York Liberty at home 102-88. And Caitlin Clark stole the show. She had 3 consecutive threes and really got the 17,000 person crowd going at Gainbridge Fieldhouse. And people were absolutely losing their mind. I was losing my mind at home. I was like, boom, 3. That was pretty deep. Didn't think that would go. Boom, another 3. I'm like, there is no way. Boom, another 3 right in Brianna Stewart's face, and I was absolutely just in awe. Number one, she goes for a 4th one and almost makes it. It like goes around the rim. Like, that would have been just, I mean, that would have to have been a SportsCenter top 10 for like 3 weeks in a row. It was that crazy. So huge showing from Caitlin Clark and just how much fun she was having too on the court. I think what was so fun for me to see, she shoots this deep 3 over Brianna Stewart, and as they're running back, they have this like really funny exchange. They're like laughing. Brianna Stewart knows it was crazy.
Yes.
Caitlin Clark's like, that was nuts. How did I hit that shot? So I absolutely loved it. But let's hear from Caitlin Clark after the game.
I mean, yeah, I felt good. And then I took one in transition. That's kind of like where I like to get to early. And it's always good to see the ball go through the hoop. And then I came down and shot another one. Then I came down and shot another one and saw 3 in a row go in. So that gives you a lot of confidence. And then I think I got a couple clean looks after that too. Early in the second quarter, I had a wide open one. And then made another couple tough ones. And even in the second half, I thought I felt like they all came off my hand feeling really good. So like, that's what you can find confidence in as a scorer and as a shooter. And yeah.
Yeah, and then I shot another one, and then I shot another one, and then they all went in. It was basically
what
that
I loved
reaction.
is that Cunningham couldn't even like keep a straight face. She's like, okay.
It was so funny, and clearly like she felt good. That's why
Yeah.
she kept shooting. And I think as a shooter, when I played basketball, like you know when it's going in, when it leaves your hand.
Yeah.
And so clearly she felt that from the start. But it's good to know. I didn't know that about Caitlin. That hey, she likes to get threes in transition, and I think that's what really separates her apart from a lot of deep 3 shooters. Is that a lot of this time it's a slow, methodical setup to your defender. You take your time. You kind of realize, okay, I think people are clearing out. I think she's going to take the 3 or take it to the hoop. And no, Caitlin's coming full speed, like sprinting into these 3-pointers, which makes her so dynamic as a player and just different, very different from other people.
Well, It's amazing that you point that out too, because she's somebody in the category, and like I've heard this phrase more in soccer, but she's always moving. So she's not ever trying to like make certain moments happen. She's always kind of moving to make situations happen, which I hope that makes sense. So with that being said, I thought it was so funny too when she was just kind of like lobbing these threes over Brianna Stewart, who's like tremendously one of the other best players in the
and
WNBA
tall.
and very
like
tall.
She's like short.
Yeah, like very up there, like probably has reach in her favor too. And it was just like she made certain things look so easy. And it's not just because the Liberty are the defending champions, it's the fact that like a roster that was already so elite, being the Liberty, they added key pieces. Like we had a whole conversation about some other like tools that they had in the toolbox to make sure that this team could potentially go for a repeat. So to have Caitlin Clark come back from injury and just to make, no offense everyone, some slight work over a very like championship caliber roster still is really exciting. But I love that you mentioned like her ability to just like point out that she likes doing that in transition, because she is just always on the move. It's going to mess with the reads. Nobody can get comfortable around her.
No.
And I think Caitlin Clark low-key loves that. She is making everybody uncomfortable and doing it in style.
Definitely. And I can't even imagine just being there on the New York Liberty being like, dude, like we were like undefeated and then you come back
Right.
and like now we're like back to square one, really is how it felt like, as someone that you have to have an intricate and thorough game plan for. But this is Stephanie White before the game, so not actually after the game, but before the game, talking about how the Fever had to restrict Clark's minutes throughout this game.
I know there was one period of time, and it may have been during that stretch where we had 7 empty possessions, and we've got to run something, right? Like we got to get into offense. We've got to stop trying to do it all ourselves, and we got to lean on each other. So I'm not exactly sure what it was at that moment, but I'm proud of our group. I'm proud of how they responded. I'm proud of the resilience that they've shown, and now we got to continue to build on it, continue to stack our days.
Yeah, Caitlin's obviously never come back from an injury like this before, but just did you expect this kind of 32-point near triple-double game from her?
Well, don't we always expect that kind of game from Caitlin? Good, bad, or ugly. I knew her adrenaline was going to be high to start. I mean, she's been itching to get back out there. So certainly knew that. Did I think it was going to be a 25-point half? No. But she so often does, when she gets hot, it's a streak, right? And so she got hot early and knocked down a lot of shots. She carried us in the first half, and then everybody else carried us in the second half.
Yeah, she knew Caitlin Clark would be itching to get back out there, but said she didn't know it would be a 25-point half, which obviously is like, you're around this player all the time, and half, right? It's absolutely crazy. And that was actually another clip. But before the game, Stephanie White was basically just talking about, we have to figure out as a staff and as a training team, like, how do we restrict her without cutting off her energy and her flows and her momentum? Because that's a really hard thing, especially when you go and watch Caitlin do what she just did. Deep threes. You're like, oh, after that first one, we probably should have taken her out. Like, no. What are you doing? That is not what you should do. But that's just it's a hard thing to juggle. And I remember watching the game and Rebecca Lobo just talking about how maybe they should play Caitlin Clark in these shorter burst spurts throughout the game and not, consistently that long time, just because of her incredible performance. But I'm like, that's got to be hard. Do you think Caitlin's going to want to do that? I don't know.
See, that's exactly where my mind goes. Like, is she going to want to do that? Because you're talking about a player who her coach just said itching to get back out there. Like, if you know that you can make a difference, regardless, you want to be out there making a difference. In the short bursts, like, she makes it count, to say the very, very least. But I feel like when you're that competitive, you're like, yeah, but I can still do so much more. Like if I put up 25 in the first half and like my counts get limited in the second half, like imagine what I could have done if I had 4 full quarters to work with. Like, I think that would just be like going in a loop in her brain. So I don't know if Caitlin Clark would be on board with that.
Definitely. No, I agree. I don't think any athlete to that caliber would be too jacked up about that. But let's hear from Sabrina Ionescu after their loss to the Fever.
I mean, it's not defeating. Basketball is a game that runs in the same way like we go on runs, they do as well. They're a great team. So I don't think it's defeating. I think obviously we know what a great shooter she is, and I think we just gave her too many easy ones. Obviously she has great range, and her ability to get her shot off is really impressive, especially with missing some games. And so obviously on a personal level, I'm really happy to see her back out on the court, healthy, feeling good, because obviously it's important for them, but just for her, I'm happy she's back.
This is the part of the WNBA and in their conversations that I think we need to highlight way more. Sabrina Ionescu just being like, I'm happy she's back,
Right.
being so respectful, so honorable, and she just killed them. Like,
Yeah.
she just came out there and was like, yeah, I took a few, days off and I'm back, and this is potentially someone who could get in the way of personal accomplishments.
Yes.
And also league accomplishments in winning the WNBA finals, right? And
Yep.
so I just loved it, and I think the media needs to do a better job of highlighting that
Yeah.
and that kind of dialect rather than like the heated tensions that happen on the court. Like, yes, that's a thing and it happens, and like cameras are out, you're gonna see it.
Mm-hmm.
But I just think as a whole, when we're blowing up social media, it's like, yeah, how cool is this? One of the best players in the world is shouting out another best player in the world. This happens in every league, but I think it's just important for the WNBA as a whole.
Yeah.
When we're talking about, okay, how much media is positive and how much media is just like kind of making it seem like a cat fight almost more that we really don't need.
It's owning your differences, right? Because like Ionescu clearly understands the big picture here. She's great for the sport. That kind of game is great for the sport. It's great for the eyes on the WNBA as they continue to have this positive trajectory to pull in more fans and to make their voices even louder. Whereas like the media side of it, I think that sometimes there's just this unfortunate, let's just say, almost lazy approach to be like, hey, we talk about it when the guys are, pushing and shoving and there's a pissiness going on the court, and like that highlighting works in the NBA, so it's going to have to work in the WNBA versus the fact that like WNBA, it's like, no, we've had to do a lot more hauling and a lot more groundwork to get here. We're going to highlight every aspect of it because you're here to watch good basketball. We're here to show you that we're equally as capable. So I think it's just kind of one of those lazy routes that it's like, oh, it worked over there, so let's give it a try over here over and over again. But big kudos to Ionescu for like taking the time to do that in her press conference, and it's very authentic, which is the next best part about it. She's good for the sport. Give her flowers, and look, it's just going to make the next matchup that much more exciting because I'm sure they're going to want to have their ability to make Caitlin Clark say, all right, she had a great game, so we got to give her flowers.
Definitely. And I think that's a great point. Like, we're not saying like get rid of it, right? We're not saying like hide all the bad things or like the heated tensions. Like, no, like show that, because then you're going to say, hey, what player do I like to follow? What player do I want to cheer for? What player am I a fan of? And like, what's my opinion on this team? What's my opinion on this player, right?
Yep.
So I think it's super important to show both things. I just think as a whole, you and I usually come on here and we have to talk about like a fight that happened or like some drama that blew up
More
or
of the
something in the
rivalries,
tension.
yeah.
Right. And so I think this was just great, and I love to see that. But there's another fun part of this for the Fever is that they get to cheer on the Pacers and when an exciting NBA Finals is going on, and just cool for them to be around. And they've had to change the court, so shout out to the crew there that's making these like overnight changes. I mean, that's like crazy. I don't know how that even gets done. I got to see a little bit of it at Boston College when they change our ice rink into our basketball court in the winter, but like that is a hard feat to do.
Oh my gosh, and just think of the time frame that they do it sometimes. Like for us, we didn't switch to a court from the ice, but we always had to prepare for concerts, and you've got different stage structures with every concert and stuff. So let's just see that they're sleeping very little. And I hope their caffeine intake is supportive of not only their health, but their ability to make that work.
Let's send some Dunkin' Donuts down to
Seriously.
into Indiana. I don't know if there's Dunks in Indy or not. I lived in Indiana for 3 years, so I should know that. But I don't remember seeing a Dunkin' Donuts when I was there.
Interesting.
Starbucks, I know they have, but Dunks. We're in Boston. We like the Dunks, right?
Exactly.
That's what we like to do.
That's how we show our support.
But I feel like for the Fever, like just having the Pacers be doing so well and to have that energy around the city, I can just imagine that you definitely have a lot of Fever fans, obviously in Indiana, and I'm sure basketball fans who follow the Pacers also support the Fever. But I bet there's like a heightened, oh, I can't wait to when this season's over, I'm gonna go cheer on Caitlin Clark and company.
Oh my gosh. Well, funny that you mentioned that because I don't remember the statistics behind it, but it was after the Pacers won on home court, and it was like every time Caitlin Clark's in the building. So she's a good luck charm for this team. Yeah. So I feel like that conversation is actually really high and thriving. And of course, the support probably goes both ways. Like, I'm sure they can't wait to go on to full on support her, but like they're loving her support because statistically it has been more positive than negative, and she helps that winning outcome not only on her court, but for the Pacers as well. So I think that's pretty sick. A whole lot of love for the Indiana Fever stars in the building supporting the Pacers. There you go, right there.
That arena definitely erupted when they saw that. But I know Indiana, it's cornfield Springfield, Indiana. It's probably not everyone's like top place to visit, but I'm like, if you're going to go to Indiana, right now is the time. That is your time to go visit Indy because the hoops are on fire in both leagues. And when we come back, we've got a fun new segment that you will not want to miss. I'm super excited about this. So stay tuned for a new episode, a new segment on Respect Your Game when we come back. Welcome back. I'm so excited for this new segment we have on Respect Your Game because we get to talk all of the major women's pro leagues with a little creative twist on it. So Kasey and I will go through each pro league and give a song that represents them. You could probably do it as a whole. I kind of did it like based in this time right now.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to see what your picks are, but I will start. So
And we didn't share them with each other.
We did
ahead
not
of
share
time.
them. Yes.
No.
We're honest. Trust us. So let's start with the WNBA. And for this, I have Lose Control by Teddy Swims. It's those lines that are out of control, out of my mind, out of control, out of my mind. I'm not going to try to sing it here, okay?
I was like, go for it, baby.
We can't play the music, the rights stuff, so I had to sing a little bit of it. But I think Caitlin Clark's return was that. It was out of control, out of mind, and just the shots from so far out, so deep, were just unbelievable. I mean, I literally jumped out of my chair watching it. But then I also think kind of the intensity that we spoke about a little earlier between the players and between these teams. It's a little out of control. It's a little out of my mind in a sense. So there's a lot going on. But I also think on the more positive side, there's a line in this song that says, I don't know myself anymore. And I'm like, that's really what we've seen with the WNBA this season. Yes, there was huge progression last year, but now I'm seeing SportsCenter consistent highlights, not just highlights, consistent highlights post game the next morning on SportsCenter. I'm seeing more social media coverage than we've ever seen before, and just commercials too. Like there's seems to be a WNBA commercial every day that I see, and a new one. So I think doesn't look like their former self. It's a little out of control, both on the good side and on the heated side. But that's what I got for the WNBA. So who's your song for the WNBA?
I loved that so much. It really is so perfect, and I love how you almost kind of went like a little big picture and then narrowed it down to Caitlin Clark's performance, because that's exactly what I did. But AB, how did you feel about 90s rom-coms?
Oh, I mean, I love rom-coms, but I don't know. Test my knowledge.
All right. Do you know a little thing about There She Goes?
Yeah.
There she goes again. That's where I took mine. It
one
doesn't have
clip
the
that.
energy level, obviously, of Caitlin Clark being like extremely dominating, but like, there she goes again. It was just like, I think
that's actually perfect. I think I'd take yours over mine.
You would. But like, even then, like Ionescu, like you're just competing against the girl, and all you could do is be like, there she goes again. Like, it's just one of those things where like you can't not be romantic about what Caitlin Clark is doing for the WNBA, and that's why that's exactly what popped up in my head. There she goes again. Anybody who loves this former 90s tune knows exactly how many times they talk about there she goes again. But like, any woman goes again in the WNBA. There's so many great names that are kind of building off of the great performances of last year, carrying it in this year, and just continue to like beef up the momentum that this league is starting to have. So I loved that. And then also the fact of just like, and I just can't contain this feeling that remains. Like, you can't shake off what the WNBA is doing. So that's my big picture aspect of it. So yep, there she goes again.
I absolutely love that, and I cannot wait. I hope someone makes like a really cool slow motion reel of the there she goes. But like over and over, it'd be like your rookie start, then like in the playoffs.
We have to put like seasons together.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Okay, well, we just keep coming up with great ideas for the WNBA, I guess.
Once again,
on the
you guys know
marketing
where to
side,
find
on
us,
the creative
so.
media side. All right, I'll go with the PWHL, and I have Hello Seattle by Owl City, and I really went full expansion team here. The only thing that would have made this perfect is if the song was like Hello Pacific Northwest, so we could get a little Vancouver action in there. But I love this song. I grew up in Seattle, and so if you listen to the song, it talks about the water, and it talks about mountains and old lighthouses and manta rays, and I'm like, that's exactly how the Kraken kind of designed their team around, is that like
they've been insane
Ocean
about
City,
branding.
Right, branding. And so I'm thinking the exact same thing with PWHL Seattle. It's all going to look exactly like that. And they're playing in Climate Pledge Arena. So I'm going to go Hello Seattle for the PWHL.
Oh, I love that. And you know what? Look, I know we're here for Boston. It's all about Boston, but we can give a little bit of love to the Seattle touch there, because they did take our assistant GM from the Boston Fleet, who is now the GM of Seattle. So, and a couple of our key girls as well.
A few of our key girls as well.
Yeah, that was. You want to talk about heartbreak? Boston's
Right. I'm
dealing
happy
with a
for
lot
them.
of it.
That's my perspective on it. I'm like, I'm happy for them.
Yes.
Seattle's a cool city. It's a new opportunity, but like, shoot, man.
Product of Boston. We had them. We loved them. We were a part of big
we
moments with
had
them.
a good thing going. Oh my
Exactly.
gosh, it needs to be like the thing.
Yeah.
The title of this show.
We
had a good thing going.
maybe we'll write a song about it.
Yeah.
Okay, so mine is one of the new little bops. It's Just Keep Watching by Tate McRae. And I picked that one because PWHL as a whole, like we had 2 expansion teams going on, and there's talks of how they're going to be able to continue to branch out and build this. And it's just like the support that they are getting from the NHL is what's also making this so different and helping to aid to the success of the PWHL this time around. And we've heard DG Marvin talk about it. We've heard Hillary Knight talk about it. We've heard women who have been a part of 3 different professional hockey leagues for women. They just weren't exactly sustainable. So to see that not only is it sustainable, you're getting cities that are getting a team back, you're getting cities that are getting a team for the first time, and there's conversations of like, how do we continue to keep this going? And I just keep watching, because there was just like the sold out crowds and attendances, like the amount of girls that want to play hockey, and like the girl camps that are becoming a part of NHL organizations. Like Pat Maroon is coaching girls at the Tampa Bay Lightning right now. So it's just like, just keep watching. It's just going to continue to get bigger and better, and the expansion teams are hopefully going to keep popping up, and this is going to turn into even more of a competitive and outstanding league that we hope it to be.
Definitely. I think that having that like men's pro league that is one of the big 3, right, in the NHL to back something like this is huge. I think that's like the number one indicator of this is going to do really well.
Yeah.
And it's going to succeed because you have that backing. But let's get to the NWSL. I have Run the World Girls by Beyonce. The NWSL has reported that 30 countries are represented across the league. And I'm like, okay, extremely international. What's better than saying literally run the world? Because that's what they're doing with this league. And not only is soccer a very international sport, but just to name some of the countries, obviously USA, South Korea, Australia, Mexico, Brazil, Spain, Jamaica, to name a few. So kind of wild. And this league is just dominant all over the country. And even some of the best players, Rebecca Bernal, Washington Spirit defender from Mexico, Lorena, Kansas City's goalkeeper, Brazil. And then you got Barbara Banda from Orlando Pride, the reigning champions forward. And I'm like, okay, just looking at this league as a whole, yes, there are international players across all leagues that we're talking about. But I think if there was ever a song to describe the NWSL, it would have to be Run the World Girls.
Yeah, I think it's funny because like I don't know if anything is as extensively international as soccer. You know what I mean? And like one can almost pitch hockey considering, but like soccer's very much up there with just how many countries are involved to such an extensive level. So I love that. There was really no competing with Run the World because it's just like it's all encompassing. But then I just, rather than big picture, narrowed it out. When you talk soccer terms, when you're learning about your new teammates, like one of the bonding things that we always had was just like little dances, because they always say like in soccer, like loosen your hips, you're dancing, like I need to see you dancing. A lot of coaches mention that as a kind of a metaphor because of how methodical you have to be with the ball in order to be competitive. So I chose Para Conmigo with Selena Gomez because it's newer rather than some of the ones that show my age, but that's one that I went with.
I'm all into what like love song. Oh, it's magic. I'll throw you back to where Waverly Place. I got you on Selena Gomez.
There we go.
Yeah.
You just
years
right
ago.
out there, threw it out there years ago. So.
Sorry, that was like a deep rooted like Disney love that I had that just came out when Kasey said that.
I love it though. Was a Disney gal myself, but there's that, and then of course, like a huge part of soccer culture is the Hispanic culture as well. So nice little melody. It's like I said, whenever you got together with a new team, it was just like always like Spanish music. It was bonding with your teammates. It was dancing, whether it was like cute or ugly. And most soccer players like were hideous dancers. But yeah, dance with the ball. Keep dancing. Keep doing the international thing.
I like it. All right. Well, finally, we have the AUSL. Okay, this is the new softball league that started last year, and I got Summertime by Kenny Chesney. All right, whenever I think of softball or baseball, I associate it with summer. I associate it with country music, and one of the first lines in the song is that old ballpark man back in gear, and it's only a 7-week series in the summertime. And so really it's like, okay, we got to jam pack these games, we got to jam pack these leagues into the summertime. And so it's a serotonin song, and if you watch any social media videos or even watch a game, the women in this league have a lot of fun doing it. And
Yes.
it's a very, not that they're not intense and really into what they're doing, because I so believe that's what it is, because they're committing so much time to it and sacrificing probably so much. They have a very lightheartedness about them, and a very
love that.
quiet and genuine spirit about them. And there's another line that says the temperature says 93, and tomorrow night they'll be in Wichita, Kansas, and it's right up there in the 90s. So I think in all the summertime and even the weather, I mean, I checked the weather in Wichita, so we're going to say that this is the right song
100%
for the softball league.
100%. It's so funny. Yes, Kenny Chesney and baseball hand in hand. Like all the baseball guys at UCF, like that's all they listen to. Funny enough, the song, it was always Boys of the Summer or American Kids.
Yep.
And Skull Dip and Sunflower Seeds. So very fitting across the board for softball as well. For me on this one, I needed that, but like you said, uplifting when you mentioned this. So Brazil by Declan McKenna is what I chose for this one. And I just love the fact that it's like to show the country that you're from is where the world should want to be. So like with it being on the newer side, like I feel like while they're being lighthearted about it, they're showing people that like, okay, now we're going to be another professional league that all eyes need to be on. And they're doing it in just such a fun, inviting, you know, welcome in, come watch the show manner. And like, what do we say for baseball? The big show. Like same thing for softball, like come watch and enjoy the show. So I thought that like the Brazil, like it's such a poppy, uplifting, fun song, and it feels very summery as well.
Definitely. And very uplifting, goes along with the colors and the marketing and the branding and the jerseys that we've seen from this new league. So let's get into a little bit more and learn about this Athletes Unlimited softball league. And Athletes Unlimited has been around for a while now. They actually started the first women's pro league that doesn't really exist anymore because they transitioned to the WLL to follow more of the PLL model, but they have a women's volleyball league too, and it's really cool because they really played up the colorfulness and they really played up the marketing and how they do social media, which is fun. But here's a little of what you need to know for the league. It features 4 teams: the Bandits, Blaze, Talons, and Volt. It's a 24-game season with 10 to 12 cities finishing in the best of 3 championship in late July. So you got to start watching because it's going to come and go right before our eyes. The season began last weekend, and Saturday saw 2 sold-out crowd stadiums, which is just so cool. But this is kind of going back to what we were talking about with the NHL's presence in the PWHL. The league is overseen by the commissioner, Kim Ang, who is a former MLB GM with other softball legends as well. But these MLB ties, I think, are really key because not only are you offering great wisdom and insight into what the MLB does, but you're also just giving financial backing, and you have a broadcast infrastructure. And I mean, I've even seen Instagram stories be put up of, hey, on the MLB network today, this is a great graphic. We have, you know, all these MLB games, and then also the softball league. Like, check it out, 7:30 p.m. Like, I think that's so awesome. And yes, it's not taking over this graphic, but it's there and it's present. And I think that's a huge, you know, reason why it's going to succeed.
Oh, absolutely, because it's going to pull over fans from MLB to either be curious or just like encouraged to see what's going on the softball side of things. And funny because like it can be so synergistic in a sense of just kind of like teaching fans more about the sport, and like you learn a lot about softball where you kind of look at things differently when you're watching baseball here and there. Like my dad played baseball in the Air Force and was so big on it, and my sister, my eldest sister, actually was like a pretty insane softball player. And I remember like and certain evenings when my dad would be like done with his assignments and stuff like that, like he'd either go umpire or play. And then everybody from that crowd from watching baseball would go watch the softball games that would take place. So it's just like, it's almost its own world in a sense. Like if you already have the confidence to watch a baseball game and to be so in tune with it, like just sticking into that realm and just like going from game to game to game and piecing softball in the mix of it is just like, it's very cool to see.
Definitely. And I think the fun part too about just grabbing different fan bases and different people is that this league has really capitalized so far off of the college fan bases. And that's what you have to do. It's kind of like what we've seen and how much Iowa has taken on this Fever team, right?
Yes.
There's some graphics that we have of just these fans at these softball games absolutely loving the girls that they followed in college and getting to watch them play. And it's so fun because you're not having to like create a new fan base, right? Like you can get to follow and watch those players. You only get 4 years of watching them in college.
That's true.
So I think it's really fun. And I think that not only having the backing of the MLB, but having the ability to capitalize on a fan base like Oklahoma, like Alabama, Alabama, like LSU, now like Texas Tech, and Texas. So I'm excited to follow along with this softball league. And when we come back, we'll give you each our Girl on Fire for the week, people that you need to be cheering for. You probably heard of, and if you didn't, well, we'll tell you why. You need to hear it. We'll let you know. So stay tuned when we get back with our Girl on Fire. Hey, welcome back to Respect Your Game. We've got time for one girl on fire, someone you need to be cheering for. And I'm smiling because I'm like, you all know who it is. You could probably guess. It's Caitlin Clark coming back from her quad injury. And really, she came back and popped off, to say the least. Like, I don't even have any more, like, description for how she played. It was absolutely incredible. And not just came back, but came back over the reigning champs, the New York Liberty, a team that was undefeated. So fun to watch. She had 32 points, 9 assists, and 8 rebounds. And even Hawk Central, this is Iowa's like newspaper, magazine, they're still covering Caitlin Clark. Okay, there aren't many people that a college town and a college magazine and outlet is covering. So super pumped from Caitlin, and it was just fun for me to cheer her on in that. And I think a lot of people were anticipating this game, which comes with a lot of pressure. Comes with, oh shoot, how is this going to go down? But what do we see? Caitlin rose to the occasion and had a stellar performance.
Well, and I love it even more too, because considering what we heard earlier on the show here at Respect Her Game, like, her playing time, limited. They don't want to overdo it. They want to make sure they're going to have her for the rest of the season and kind of like ease her in. So like, who had on their bingo card that Caitlin Clark was going to come back and put up 32 points, let alone the, back to back 3-pointers and
it's like
make
the
it
way
look
that
easy.
she did it.
Yes, it's just exactly that. It's the way that she did it to where like it's just obvious that she's going to be our girl on fire. But the other thing that I like is that we mentioned it here a couple of times. It's how she levels up everyone around her. I feel like the team just gets this like extra buzz when Caitlin Clark is in the lineup, and it's not because she's super mouthy. It's not because like she's not humble. It's just like the pace and just like her level of confidence and just how much she loves the game. It's so obvious how much she is in love with the game of basketball. So I love that too for Girl on Fire, because it's just like everyone around her gets that much better. I mean, I feel like Kelsey Mitchell, like last year, she became on my radar just because of like how great I felt like her and Caitlin Clark worked in tandem. So I think that she very much earned Girl on Fire.
And I think it's important too, like we've done this Girl on Fire segment almost every week. We tried to. We don't always get there. But sometimes you can kind of overlook the superstars. You can overlook people who are doing really well. I mean, I even know like sometimes when I would be playing in a game, you're like, oh, I'm going to congratulate and say good job to like the girls who came off the bench or a girl who was unexpectedly had a great game. It's like, no, well, like let's make sure to shout out your best player and give them some flowers, because as the best player, you need encouragement too. And you need people to be like, hey, that wasn't normal and that was incredible. And I think sometimes it can kind of get breezed behind, but always fun to highlight Caitlin Clark on the show, no matter if she's a girl on fire or we take a whole segment to talk about her. We can do either of it. But seriously, this was so fun. We got to do more of those like creative twists.
I love
Respect
the
Your Game
music stuff
segments
added into any of it. You know me.
So stay tuned for more of that content coming up. But thanks so much for tuning in to Respect Her Game. I'm AB. She's Kasey. We'll see you next week.